There was Nephilim in the Grand Canyon. They don't want you to know that. It's all found in these restricted sections of the Grand Canyon where we're not allowed to explore.
In this video, we got so much strange and mysterious and weird stuff going on, it's hard to explain. You guys already know the deal. Hit that like and subscribe button as we dive through these videos and try to make sense of all this madness. This first video is a Wendigo caught on camera. Let's take a closer look and see what it really is.
What the heck?
Something's hiding behind that bush.
This 16,000-ton stone was carved out and formed by man. These things right here were made to pull it. This is the Yangshan Quarry stele base. It's located in China. All of this right here was supposed to be built to move. This project was started in 1405. It was they were trying to build a memorial to the Emperor Yonggul's father, and they were trying to move this huge 16,000-ton stone. I don't know how they thought they could move it, but they had planned on moving it. Now, some experts say the reason that they had this bulging out of the stone was because they were going to use this as either ropes or chains somehow to hook to.
They were going to hover over this with airships, attach the chains around it, and take it wherever it needs to go. Solar technology to bottom off, and off you go.
This and pull it. Take a look at this. Look how perfect this stone is cut. Now, this stone was in place. They didn't move this stone, but they did cut it. Like, look how perfect this is cut. Not to mention, this is limestone. It is not easy to cut even today for us, much less look at the perfect squares in the middle of this stone. Now look at this bottom picture right down here on the bottom. It appears to float. Now, when you walk up to it, people experience when they go to it, they say it looks like it is floating up off of the ground, but the engineers engineered it that way to look as if it was floating. Allegedly, they didn't lift it up off the ground, but it just looks that way. Now, could someone explain to me how, back in 1400, how they could cut something so perfect through limestone? Look at that precision. There's many legends around this huge piece of stone. They say thousands or hundreds of people died in the making of this because they just couldn't build it. It was too hard to build. It was too hard to accomplish. And this one person even wrote a song about it back in those times, saying it couldn't even be moved by 1,000 camels. Why is it that we have structures like this, including the pyramids, all around the world, almost like a lost civilization, and we have no idea how they built it, what tools they used, because all we find is these small saws and these primitive tools? What on earth are we missing?
Can you imagine what the world would have looked like before the last reset? This was in St. Louis, the United States of America, and you can clearly see that this is not somebody's house. This is not a normal building. This is technology. This was in Buffalo, New York. Now, can you imagine walking down the street and seeing buildings like this? This one was in France. And you can clearly see that the people are looking at a place. I mean, just look how small the people look compared to the building. And if you notice that all these buildings have antennas at the top, and that's for harvesting natural atmospheric energy. This one was in Belgium, and you can clearly see that we don't build like that no more. And this one was in the Czech Republic, and by the shape of this building, you can tell that this building was on some next type of technology. You see, as part of the reset, a lot of these buildings was put on display one last time to the world under the presence of a world fair, where people would come, have a good time, throw a few signs up, and when the party was over, they blew it up with dynamite.
I mean, what we all seen the fairs that pop up in our hometown. You know, the little carnivals that pop up with the semi trucks they assemble, sell you that overpriced wristband for $40. You know, we all been there. But they all pack it up and move. They just don't get rid of it. Look at this. This is I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is a World Fair book that actually features 1904. And look at this sunken garden detail. I mean, the buildings were nice, but I'm also mad about this sunken garden that they had in there. Can you imagine all the different exotic plants and stuff, and just looking around you seeing all the different architecture? Look at the top. Look at the domes he spoke of. Look at the statues in between the columns. Look at how they had the nice marble statues. You know, we get excited about Disney World, you know? I want to see this level of architecture, you know?
Some of these buildings got used as a casino. I mean, come on, brother. Man, no, that's not no casino. Now look, this is what they always do. They always credit these buildings to some architecture nobody's ever heard of. James Gleick Hugo Gernsback, 1884 to 1967, has mostly vanished from our cultural memory, which is a pity, because he was an extraordinary man and his influence on modern age electrical science. Listen, don't lie to me, brother. You man didn't even build these buildings. That's why you blew them up with dynamite. So nobody can go and visit them today. Can you imagine what the world...
Hold on, I'm trying to figure out what this building is in the back. What is this? It looks like a nuclear reactor. It looks like a nuclear reactor / house. Let's punch it in and see what we can come up with. Alright. It says the 1920 monument to electricity that never was. I told you it looked like some type of generator. Alright, inside the photo it reads, it would probably not be affected by the weather and the climate, and it's doubted, whether it could be easily destroyed by any savage race that might come after us. In the inside, passages along the walls could be inscribed in diagrams and otherwise electrical fundamentals, from the first static machine down to the latest radio developments. As new inventions can come about, these can be inscribed from year to year. I guess inscribed means updates to this building, but it's a colossal. What if this was like a giant Tesla tower for like a city, and this was the generated plans? In 1922, a magazine publisher, Hugo Gernsback, decided that the world needed a 1,000-foot tall concrete monument to electricity. Gernsback imagined that the monument might last for thousands of years, and rather than some static behemoth structure in time, the interior of this monument would be constantly changed to reflect the technical advances of each new generation. So they just were like, alright, y'all just keep updating it. I mean, that's a pretty cool idea, but you know, how all these cathedrals and old world temples disappearing. I mean, it's a great idea, but you know. Gernsback explained that this monument would look like a giant electrical generator, 1,000 feet tall. By comparison, the Statue of Liberty is just 305 feet tall, And the Empire State Building, which is almost a decade away from being built in 1930, isn't that much taller than that proposed monument in just 1,250 feet if you don't count its spire. This post originally appeared in the Smithsonian. For all we know, they might have made this already, for all we know, and they got it underground. I'd throw one of these on an airship and load us all on there and we'll go over the wall. Speaking about the Grand Canyon, let's see what they're talking about here. This looks interesting.
There is Nephilim in the Grand Canyon. They don't want you to know that. It's all found in these restricted sections of the Grand Canyon, where we're not allowed to explore. Yeah, that's right. Entertainment purposes only. It all started in 1909 when this archaeologist named Kincaid accidentally found this cave exploring the Colorado River. He was rafting down it and found the entrance to this giant cave. The most interesting thing is that this is a Smithsonian-backed archaeologist. He had the financial backing of the Smithsonian. Keep that in mind for later. This cave was said to be 1,600 meters deep and had walls that were 456 meters high. And yeah, it was in a restricted section of the Grand Canyon, where you would be under fine if you even stepped foot in there. Apparently, the architecture that was found suggests that it could be advanced engineering skills of this subterranean city. In the main hall of this place were a bunch of copper weapons and tablets with symbols and hieroglyphics similar to Egypt. Wonder what that was? Gets even stranger because they found mummified bodies like Egypt in there. I mean, come on!
Where did he get this image? This is interesting.
I mean, come on! Apparently these bodies that were no less than 2.74 meters tall. And since I'm American, I looked it up, and that's almost 9 feet tall. That's freaking crazy! Even crazier is that Goliath was 9 foot 6 inches. So, what? Yeah, we got Goliath's cousins hanging out in Arizona. What the heck? Then it gets even weirder. Other places had these idols, what they believed to be this civilization's god. Had a certain resemblance to Buddha. What? How the heck did that get there? And the craziest part about this all, the Smithsonian denies it ever happened. Denies their Smithsonian-backed archaeologists even found the place. I mean, give me a break!
I don't think they found everything. I think there's still some stuff out there.
I never not have the time to talk about the Colossi of Memnon. So these two statues above me here are both colossal statues of the pharaoh Amenhotep the.
Look at the background as well. They have more, just not those two. And look at the background. It kind of resembles the Grand Canyon a little bit. The deviations, almost like how one of those world harvesters would sit in the middle and kind of go through and excavate the Never mind. I'll just play this.
Third, and they would have stood at the entrance of his mortuary temple. They were built around 1350 BCE, and they were well known to the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans, and they were also very popular with the early modern explorers and Egyptologists. The statues contain 107 Roman-era inscriptions, both in Greek and Latin, that date from the year 20 to 250 CE. A lot of these were ancient tourism graffiti, definitely don't do this today, and the northernmost statue has a lot of references in Greek and Latin to the mythological king Memnon, who they were attributing one of these statues to. Incorrectly, mind you, because again, Amenhotep III. This was definitely not the mythological Greek king Memnon. It was an Egyptian pharaoh who really lived. In 27 BCE, there was a large earthquake that reportedly shattered the northern Colossus and collapsing it from the waist up. And after this happened, the remaining lower half of this statue was then reported to, I guess, sing is the best word for it, on various occasions, always within an hour or two of sunrise. The earliest report we have of this singing in literature is actually from the Greek historian Strabo, who said that he heard the sound during a visit in the year 20 BCE. But by this time, it was already well known. He said it sounded like a blow, and another historian named Pausanias compared it to the string of a lyre breaking. Other people have compared it to the striking of brass or whistling as well. This whole vocal Memnon became legendary, and it was said that if you heard it, it would bring you luck. This means that there was a constant stream of visitors, including several Roman emperors, and everyone would sort of leave a note or some sort of graffiti etched onto the stone saying that they've heard it. It was thought that this phenomenon of singing was caused by the heating of the stone during sunrise, and all the cracks would sort of squelch together once sunrise happened, which is why it only occurred at certain points of the day. Unfortunately, the singing did stop around 199 CE, so you can't go and witness it today, and this is because of the Roman Emperor Septimius Severus, who ordered repairs to the northern statue, and that filled in all of the fissures and silenced the sound forever.
Damn, I want to hear the sound. If you don't drill a hole somewhere so I can hear the whistle too. I want to hear the whistle.
A few years ago, scrolls that were almost 2,000 years old gave us a word for the first time, and that word was purple. And this came from a charged scroll from the site of Herculaneum. But now we have more Herculaneum papyri news, and we gotta talk about it, because there's so many layers that we gotta unroll to piece this one back together. So first and foremost, how do you unroll a scroll that is almost 2,000 years old that will seemingly disintegrate if you look at it too hard? Well, that's the best part. You don't physically unroll it. You digitally unwrap it. For this, scholars, scientists, and more have been using high-resolution phase contrast X-ray microtomography, and from there, the team actually went and reconstructed the scroll's geometry, where they traced and flattened the entire document, its surface, so to say, so that it could be rolled out into something that could hopefully become legible. From there, researchers actually created a software to scan and detect traces of ink, so that we could get words. So, what do we get after all of that is said and done? Well, one of the biggest ones comes from this scroll right here, which is known as P-Herc 1667. This has now been digitally unrolled, and it's over a meter long. Now, this scroll specifically discusses Stoic philosophy on ethics, art, and more. And due to its handwriting, is believed to date to the late 3rd and or the early 2nd century BCE. Now, the text where they got the word purple from, and many other texts in the library, are from Philodemus of Gadara, a Epicurean philosopher, and he is from the 1st century BCE. But this scroll actually points to an earlier author. Now, another scroll that has come out to be digitally unrolled is P-Herc 139, which gives us the words Philodemus on Gods, Book 8, which tells us for the first time there was more than one book. Around 27 other scrolls are currently being analyzed and studied, and I want to go back to the technology I talked about earlier, because in many news articles that are currently talking about this, they will have splashed on the headlines that AI is helping this. And because these researchers created a program to detect ink, it technically does fall under the term of artificial intelligence. Now, my dear friends, this is not the same AI that ChatGPT uses. This is not generative AI. This is not the same generative AI that the site of Pompeii used to reconstruct a victim's face. But I will say, for the field of archaeology and even the realm of ancient history, this does bring up a plethora of questions that I think we should all have a larger conversation about. Are there ethics that we should be discussing for its use here? Are there certain parameters, regulations, and more? The scrolls from Herculaneum are talking once again, and we have to as well for this larger conversation. But what do you guys think?
I want to see them put that under the Dead Sea Scroll. See what they can uncover. But like break it all down so we can understand the reasoning, you know? Like how it came up with its answers, just not take it and run with it. Like question literally every single answer it gives us and put that system on top of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
This is the Lehner Mammoth-Kill site located in southeastern Arizona, and it's one of the most important archaeological sites in North America because it provides some of the clearest evidence that the Clovis people hunted mammoths during the last ice age. The site was discovered in 1952 when researcher Ed Lehner found mammoth bones eroding from the ground on his property. After heavy rains exposed even more fossils, archaeologists began excavating the site. What they uncovered is remarkable. The remains of at least 9 Columbian mammoths were found alongside 13 Clovis spear points, stone butchering tools, and 2 ancient hearths or campfires containing charcoal. They also discovered the bones of extinct horses, camels, tapirs, bison, bears, and other Ice Age animals in this location. The Lehner site became famous because it was the first Clovis site where ancient campfires were discovered together with mammoth remains. The charcoal from these fires allowed scientists to accurately radiocarbon date the site to approximately 13,000 years ago. And it also provided direct evidence that humans hunted, butchered, and processed mammoths rather than simply scavenging animals that had already died. Back then, southeastern Arizona looked very different than it does today. The San Pedro River supported lush grasslands and permanent streams that attracted mammoths and other large Ice Age animals.
I don't know, but the fact that there might have been camels there is interesting. I wonder if they have like more than just a site or like a museum that actually breaks down what they found and show us the actual specimens of what they found. I'm not entirely convinced that it was just mammoth that they found there.
Names that attracted mammoths and other large Ice Age animals, and the Clovis hunters likely waited near these watering holes before ambushing their prey with stone-tipped spears.
Exactly how are they going to take that down? It's that time of the day again. If you thought I wasn't going to hit you with another excellent specimen of the day, well, yesterday technically you would have been right, but today, think again.
This is a world-class tourmaline, okay? So we talk about the levels. You got like wholesale, good, exceptional, world-class. This is a world-class tourmaline, hands down. I'll show you what makes it great. So like look at the shape of the tip. I don't know if it's blowing out or not. Make sure it doesn't blow out. So you've got perfect faces, and then it has those edges between the faces. But this is totally gem. There's no restoration or repair on any of the tips. Of course, for the Malcan tourmalines, there's some restoration and repair in the edges, all of them, every single one. Okay? But the color and the gemminess of those tips is bar none. This is
Man, that got magical, didn't it? Look at how the light is reflecting off that tip. Are you kidding me? Man. Like it's got some type of hidden energy inside. Alright guys, if you're new around here, we rate these 1 through 10 and we try to give it a name. The rating I'm gonna give this is a 9.8. My man said it's a world-class tourmaline. So I guess that's a good indicator on a high rating, but just visually looking at it, it's striking. Like he said, they tried to do this minimum restoration work as possible, but man, they did an excellent job. And how it just shines like that at the end. I would name this the Purple Energy Vortex Crystal. Purple Energy Vortex Crystal 9.8. I want to hear your names, your ratings below. It kind of looks like a sloth or something's hugging it right there too. That could be a cool name as well. Like a cloud or like a white monster is hugging it. I don't know. But I do know one thing. That's all we got for today's video. If you made it all the way through this video, be sure you hit the like and subscribe button and go ahead and drop the code word in the comments below. The code word for today is hidden history. Go ahead and drop hidden history in the comments below. When you do that, that lets me know you're a real one. You made it all the way through the end of this video and you really rock with your boy. I just want to thank you guys for rocking with me. See you tomorrow.